Okay, good morning, everyone.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, good morning.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about
Oh
that.
my. Okay. Sorry about that once again. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's Founders Conversation. My name is Ngina Moluko, and I am the Media Associate of SME Founders Association. And today we are going to be hosting Barbara Kimori, who's a strategic marketing specialist. Just before we start on today's topic, a recap of last week's topic, which was on marketing your business beyond borders and overcoming regional changes. So Barbara took us through how research isn't optional, and it is something that we need to, for us to be able to customize our marketing, we need to do enough research and be able to put it into practice when it comes to marketing on a global scale. This week's topic is building strategic partnerships for market expansion. Welcome, Barbara. Please introduce yourself and what it is you do before we start.
Thank you very much, Ngina. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Barbara Kingori. I'm a strategic marketing specialist with over 14 years experience in marketing, mostly in corporate. And currently, I support SMEs in terms of marketing strategy. And I'm also a certified coach. Thank you.
Okay, just to kick us off, can you share a partnership you've been a part of that really moved the needle and what made it successful?
Um, I think, wow. I think of one that has really changed it for me or changed a little. But I think the one thing that over the years that I found that has helped when there's for the partnership to work is being aligned on our purpose and why we are on what we are doing. And I think that has been, I think, anchor for most of the partnerships. And currently, I am in one where we are trying to work on coaching for middle management, and so we are both the two partners, both me and the partner, are really passionate about coaching middle management and helping them grow and getting you know the resources that most of us missed when we were just starting and getting into middle management. So I think it's alignment on purpose, and that's what I've seen worked than anything else. If you're not aligned on the purpose and the vision, then you tend not to the partnership tends to fall on the wayside. I think because you start moving in different directions and then you're not moving in the same direction. You really can't do anything with that partnership. Yeah.
That's interesting that you mentioned alignment with purpose because this year's theme is purposeful progress. And yeah, you've just mentioned about aligning with purpose, and it looks like it's one of the key factors when it comes to strategic partnership. When you hear should I repeat the question? I was asking
Yes.
when you hear strategic partnership, what
Yeah.
does that really mean to you?
I think for me, strategic partnership is, um, working, it's two people coming together to work, looking forward, like what do we want to do um, uh, in the next, maybe well, the partnership can be a year, 2 years, but working forward together. And it's essentially, and as I said, you must be aligned in purpose, aligned in values, and you're committed to make the partnership work. So for me, it's two people working together, and I say, and also working forward together, like working for the future, and you two are aligned in values, purpose, and you're committed to make it work. For me, that's strategic partnership for me.
You've mentioned alignment in purpose and alignment in values.
Yeah.
Which are very key qualities when it comes to strategic partnerships and finding the right partner. Is that people should look out for when they're looking for a potential partner before considering any type of collaboration?
Key qualities, I think, as I said, first is purpose. And I think the reason I say that, as I said, in my experience, that has been where the partnerships have kind of, you start having conflict because you're not aligned on what you really wanted to do. So it's very important to, as you're looking for a partner or you're looking for partnerships, to see, are we aligned? Are we doing, is our end goal, is the North Star the same? If your North Star is not the same, then you start moving it, as I said, in different directions. I think the other one is integrity. Like I think that's so important when it comes to partnerships, that both of you are open and honest, and you're bringing everything you have to the table and communicating about what is on the table. And because without integrity, then I think with you both will kind of falter, or the person who maybe was not being honest, the truth will come to light, and the partnership will tend to end. So integrity, I think, is another important thing. And I think the third one is, are you complementary of each other? Because you're not looking for a mirror, you're looking for someone who will you're looking for someone, as a mirror, not someone who will match your strength, but someone who, where you have gaps, that's where their strengths are. So you're multiplying when you're together. And so my strengths are this, your strengths are this, and the strengths multiply and make us better. So I think the last one definitely would be maybe, do you have common complementary strengths? That's also very important, because if you both have all the same strengths, then there'll definitely be gaps and spaces, and so you will tend maybe have to find someone else to come fill in those gaps. So also just look at, are your strengths complementary to be able to enable you to move forward? Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And one thing you keep mentioning is alignment. But so alignment with purpose, alignment with values, integrity, them being able to complement your weaknesses and everything instead of having a mirror. But how do you evaluate this process? How do you evaluate that this person is actually aligned with you, especially in a cross industry collaboration, and even within the industry? How do you evaluate that alignment?
Yeah, you definitely have to do your homework in that space. You can't go in blind. So even if it means looking at, and it's more, look for people maybe who they've worked together with, or also just look at what the current work they're doing. Is it in line with what you want to do? Because there's information out there for you to be able to look at this person or organization and see what have they been doing in the past. Maybe talk to people inside the organization and find out how do they just generally treat their people, work together, like the things that you're looking for. Like, you have to do the work, you have to do the research, do the investigation, and find out, are these people, are we really, really aligned, or is it just surface level? So you really also just have to go in deep and find out what exactly it is they do. And I think also when you're having the conversations, because you will start maybe with a conversation and listening to what they do, I think listening more than trying to quickly jump into the partnership. So maybe also look at, can you have probation or a temporary period. Maybe you can say 2 to 3 months, and we see if this is going to work. Are we still aligned? And do your working, how do you work together? So you can also maybe have like a probation period or a period you say, let's try and test and see if this is going to work. That's also maybe another option you can look at when you're getting into partnerships. And generally, I think it's the same way when you get into employment. You and your employer have a 3-month probation where you check, are we really aligned? Do I really like working here? The employer also starts checking, do I really like this person as an employee? Are they fulfilling the JD well? So I think in most partnerships, because an employer-employee relationship is a partnership, because you go to gain experience and skills, they benefit from your past experience and skill, and also what you can bring forward. So I think also maybe trying to look at, can you have like a probationary period where you work together and see, as you said, are you still aligned? And yeah, as I said, also just kind of do your homework. The same thing you do if you're getting into whatever space. Do your homework, look at the organization and see, are you aligned, talk to people. And I think in that way you can tend to find the information you need and see if you're really, really aligned before you get into the partnership.
It's interesting you mentioned probation. I feel like most times when people talk about probation, it's like, oh my God, you do not trust me, or are you are you doubting my experience? So what is that balance? Is it something that both people actually decide, okay, let's put this on a test, or is it just one-sided?
I think I was challenged, and maybe talking it from an employer perspective before I even went into business and getting into entrepreneurship. I think I was challenged a bit earlier in my career, like never look at probation as if it's just the employer, testing or not look at, but it's not just the employer seeing if you are a match. You're also seeing if you are a match to the company. And I think most of us don't look at things like that or look at it from that perspective, because if you have kind of mapped where you want to be, let's say as a business, I want to grow to this, and for me, these are the key things, these are the values, or this is how I work, or these are the things I do. Like, never be afraid to also be looking at, does this other person, as much as sometimes the problem is we look at it like, I really need this person, I really want to get into this employment and stuff, but getting into that partnership can destroy your or rather can make you move 10 steps backwards instead of 10 steps forward. So I think really looking at it as you also have to be evaluating the company, the organization, be it a partnership, be it an employment. You have to be evaluating, is this in line with my career path? This is in line with my growth of my company? Am I getting into that? Is this thing taking me forward or moving me backward? And so it can never be one-sided, but if you have to have that attitude that I'm also bringing something to the table, and I'm also trying to evaluate if this thing is taking my business forward or is it taking my business backward. And it's okay to say, actually, no, our partnership is not working, and I feel like we are going in different directions. I don't feel like this is going to take me where I want my business to go. And it's okay to say, you know what, and that's where the probation, I think, is important, because you kind of test it in real life, other than in theory. So you're testing it in real life. You work together, the complementary are the values aligned? Are you seeing the direction you both are going? Are you seeing that you're complementing each other in terms of strengths? And so it's a good test in real life for you to know, because theory can only be theory, but once you hit the ground, that's what matters. So I think looking at probation as positive instead of negative is really important. It can never be one-sided, because you're also bringing something to the table. So always look at it from that angle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. And it actually takes us to our next question. Have you ever turned down a partnership? And if you did, what was that red flag you saw, maybe in probation, or even before you got to the probation stage?
Yeah. Wow. And I think it's never ignore the red flag. I think I was 1 month in, and I was just like, my gosh, I should not have gotten into this situation. And I think there were kind of first the red flag is there was so much. There was a rush in getting it, signing the contract. Let's start. And I kept feeling like we haven't really, I don't feel like we have ticked all the boxes here. But you're in that. You're like, there's excitement. Let's rush. And then coming in, I just didn't like the way of working. How, uh, you know. The way of communicating with your peers and the team members. I just felt like this is not a space I want to be in. I've been in those spaces before, and for me, I've always been how you treat people. How for me, especially treating people with a bit of kindness and empathy is very important for me because people are going through a lot, and I think coming you as a boss or someone who's leading a team, you must lead with empathy and a bit of kindness. And so that was not there. And I think for me, even just the way we were signing and feeling rushed and not being given time, I think I was ignoring that. But I was, as I said, I was excited for the partnership. And so I kind of brushed it off. And as I said, 1 month in, I was just like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, this is not going to work. I don't think this will work, and just had to step back and say thank you for the opportunity. And but I would like to leave this. Yeah.
They
Sorry.
look like very small things that people need to look out for.
Mm,
But saying that all these things, when someone hears them, they look like very small things, but they actually do play a very huge role when it comes to partnerships.
yeah.
Even the simple the simple way of how we speak to each other as peers is very important. And okay, yeah, that's quite a red flag that they were rushing into it. Our
Mm,
listeners, the audience can actually pick up on that. I'm sure everyone has had their moments where they felt rushed. And of
mm,
course, in such an economy like today's, you feel like I need this money, I need this job, I need this opportunity. But I think it's a reminder for people to just pause first before they get into anything that they're not sure of.
yeah.
Anyway, let's just get into the next bit where when it comes to execution and being a partnership, there's a lot of co-creation and co-doing things together.
Yeah.
So how do you ensure that both sides bring equal value and
Yeah.
they stay accountable? The partnership has begun.
Um. I think clarity is so important, and clarity that has been written down, and like you have both sat down, agreed on what needs to be done. And so there is no space for guesswork, there is no space for assumptions. So clarity upfront, ensuring, and all this is written down, it's filed, and say this is what we agreed, this is what we're doing. And so first of all, this kind of leaves those gaps of, oh, I didn't know, a lot of assumptions are being made. That holds you accountable. So both of you, whatever the strategy, the partnership is, there's a lot of clarity in your what you're supposed to be doing. What metrics are you chasing? What are you chasing as an individual, as a whole together? And so it's the same thing. It's KPIs. There's a lot of clarity on your what the KPIs that you're chasing, and yeah, I think that for me is very key because it first of all removes a lot of arguments and a lot of blaming or pointing the fingers like you were supposed to do this, no, you were supposed to do that. But if this is at the beginning, you have that clarity, and as I said, written down, not verbal, written down, filed, emailed, approved, agreed upon, signed. Especially at the contracting stage. I think it's very important when you're doing the contracting to have that clarity upfront, and so that accountability is not, you don't feel like you're being policed. It's more of, we agreed on this, and this is how we are moving. So it feels like it's a shared, there's a shared ownership, I think, of the work, of what you're chasing, and what you're supposed to be doing. So it feels shared because it's agreed upon and signed upon, and this is what you're working on. So it doesn't feel like, oh, what are you doing? It doesn't feel like someone is on your neck asking you what you should be doing, but it's something that you've agreed. So I think, yeah, for me that would be important. So especially at the contracting stage, be very clear what you want to both do and who's doing what, so that there's no confusion moving forward.
So communicating, there's a lot of transparency, it sounds like. So what are
Yes.
some of the challenges, and what is a lesson that you had to learn the hard way when a partnership didn't go as planned?
I think the hard lesson, as I said previously, was first feeling like you first are not being aligned. I think the lesson I had to learn the hard way, one was, and maybe that's why I keep insisting on purpose. If you're not aligned on purpose and what you're doing, then it's going to be a hard journey, because you keep pulling each other in different directions. And then, as I said, that thing of, at the contracting stage, lack of clarity about your role and what you're supposed to bring to the table I've had and has burnt me previously, because later on you enter, and then other things are being brought to your table, and you're like, this was not discussed, and this was not part of the agreement. And so you're also left feeling like someone has pulled the rug from under your feet, because you feel like they were lying from the beginning on what was expected of you. And so someone is bringing other things to the table, and you feel, yeah. So I think those two things, that the alignment on purpose and where you're going, and vision and mission, and then also clarity on what your roles are and what you're doing, have been cases I have had to, those was I've had to just say, okay, what is happening here. And I think it has led me to be very clear at the beginning and sign off and say, this is what we're doing. If anything else then comes up, you're able to go back and say, this is not what we agreed on. And you would have to review and see if this is still a partnership that you want to be in. I think as I have grown, I have stopped being afraid of saying no, and saying, this is not working. I'd like to do something else. But of course, when I was younger, it was a bit more difficult. But now I think having being very aligned on what I bring to the table, the purpose, my vision, I'm able to say, no, this is not the direction I'd like to take, and thank you, but it's not going to work. And finding then someone else, because you'll always find then someone else who you're aligned to, and you're able to work together. Yeah.
Interesting. You've mentioned the ability of saying no and saying that it's not working, but also we live in a world where conflict happens, and we can't always burn bridges with anytime we face any kind of conflict. When it comes to partnerships, how do you get to handle those conflicts before you say, yes, I'm done, I'm out, goodbye? What are some of the ways to handle conflict?
I think,
especially once it's in motion.
I think for me the best has always been to handle it directly, and not let the person know what's happening directly to them. Talk to the person directly. Don't first go to talk to other people, and then the word gets to them. I think being very direct to the person, like handle it directly with the person you're having conflict with. If it's the partner, then have a sit down, but be very, I think, where people fail is the lack of respect, because as you said, you can't start burning bridges, and there is a way to actually communicate respectfully without making the other person feel, bad and blaming them, having that blame game. Come with the reasons you are uncomfortable, the reasons for your conflict, and then have an open discussion. So openness, directness, but with a lot of respect, for the situation. As you said, your peers. I don't think there's a partnership where one is usually above the other. That's why it's a partnership. It's two people who have come together. So also respect is very important, and lay your your issues on the table openly, and say this is the reason it's happening. And I think taking also another thing is sometimes we try and refuse to take accountability for maybe the situation, and say the part you played in it, because you definitely played a part in the situation. Be it that you, as you said, maybe you rushed into this, maybe you didn't look at it from maybe a certain angle, because it can also be you entered and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'd never thought of it like this, and this is not something I meant to do. So also taking accountability for the role that you've played is very important. And so, because the other person doesn't feel like it's just me. You're also you also made a decision to enter into the partnership. Take accountability for that and say, I know I thought this would work, but it's not working because of this. Maybe it's something we should have discussed at the beginning, and it was an oversight. But take accountability for your role, talk openly and honestly, and but with respect. Let it not be that later on someone is like hearing other things that you never talked about, and you went to talk about that with other people. You kind of then also lose some integrity in that space, that you're not honest with your partner, and then you're going to discuss with other people. So I think those are some of the things how I'd handle a conflict. And yeah, it's openness. I think openness and accountability. That's a big thing. Accountability for the role you play needs. There is
Yeah.
no, you cannot escape and say it was all Gina's fault. No. What did
Mm.
Barbara do? What did Barbara do? Because I made a decision to get into this. So what role did I play? And it also, it lets the other person know that it's not all their fault, because it's not everything is another person's fault. You did play a part in it. So it's important to take accountability.
That is definitely true. And we have most times there's an openness, but the accountability bit's very
Yeah.
shaky. We tend to forget what role we played in some of these partnerships, however they look like. Yeah,
Yes.
that's interesting. But so we've gone through some of the red flags people should be on the lookout for,
Mm.
how to handle communication, and even handling conflict when it does come up. So we can look at the expansion bit, because strategic partnerships are important when it comes to market expansion. How
Yeah.
have partnerships helped you enter new markets?
Mm.
And can you give us an example?
I think in my experience, let's say maybe from a corporate perspective, um, especially like marketing, so partnerships, we working with agencies, let's say that's in a new country, definitely help you hit the ground running or roll out a campaign in a new market. So for me, in marketing especially, if you were taking a new product to a new market, then we look at what agency can we work with in that market that is reputable, that is able to, understand, what we were discussing last time. They know the cultural context, the cultural nuances. They're able to guide us in terms of, where do we, who also, because they kind of also help you know where do you take your product, where are your consumers, what activities can you do, because they understand the market. So also looking for us, it was important to look for a local agency that, as I said, was reputable and was able to help us get into the market, to activate, to sample our products. And so for me, that's that's what used to work very well, especially if I was trying to take a product into a new market. And so I think, as we were mentioning last time, looking for, and as we look at this point from maybe an SME perspective, as you're saying, are there any trade associations that you can join in that country that you're going into? That's the people that are able to guide you, that understand the market, that are able to help you break into the market. Are there any organizations like business associations, let's say? So the trade institutions can be the government ones, and are you able to join those ones? Are there any business associations that are in those countries that you can join as an SME, to be able to understand, we're giving examples of Orbit that's, across the region, across Africa. Have you looked at other kind of associations like Orbit that are across that you can join, or you can benefit being a partner in Kenya, and so you also get that in the new country that you're going into? So those are strategic partnerships. Don't look at joining an association as if it's not a strategic partnership. It is, because they help you through, sometimes they conduct trainings, they'll help you get into new markets, they'll guide you in those new markets, what you need to do. And so, depending on your nature of your business, you'd need to see who is like the most impactful. As I mentioned last time, they are distributors who help, with market expansion within the country. So maybe you can look at distributors who not only stock your products, but also help you with marketing. They help you with activities on ground. They help you listing your products in the places that it needs to be listed. So these are the partnerships, I think, that will definitely help you in the new markets if you're trying to expand into a new market. And all this leads to, okay, as you said, alignment in purpose, in vision. Does the distributor believe, in ethical? If you're a person who believes in ethics and values and integrity, is that how the distributor operates, so that you're not having conflicts? You're not looking at a point where you've agreed on a price, then when you go to market, the distributor puts a markup and took the price, the product into market, and now you're priced off your consumers. Such like things. And it all leads, as we were saying, even the last time, and even as I mentioned today, do your homework, do your research, especially on those partnerships, and see if they're aligned. So I think those are how those strategic partnerships can help you expand into new markets. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting and very powerful. And okay, in today's business climate and everything we talk about globalization, and especially after the COVID era, do you think partnerships are becoming more important? Are they becoming less important? And why now?
Oh, I think they are becoming more and more important, and I think, and also it's with all that's happening, as you say, there's a lot of disruption, economic, political, all these things that are happening. Like, I think we are in an era. I think everything makes my head spin. Like today, there's so much happening, and I think also another thing is there's so much happening. You can't do it all by yourself. You can't. It's impossible. It's impossible to do it all by yourself. And so in this and also in this time of all these things, and it also makes it easier, quote unquote, to do the research to find out who can you partner with. And it also, and to see, I think, okay, well, there's as much as there's so much happening, there's also so much information and so much accessibility to so much, and to see, you're able to also understand other markets just from, what you see on social media, what you see in the media, or just in any space. You're able, first of all, to also kind of start having an understanding of what other markets have, because you see maybe people there talking about a certain product or things. You're also able to understand some nuances through all this. And so through that, then you can also say, okay, if I do research, it helps you with research. You also kind of have some information. You're able to see who would be your best partner in that space. But you can't do it alone. You cannot enter a new market, without support from someone or a partnership from that other market. Because being a Kenyan, as much as I can understand what maybe Ugandans do or work with, or the products that are there, I really can't get deep into the nuances, and you definitely need someone who's in that space to help you with that. And because also of all this globalization, as you're talking, people also have interest in products from other countries and things that are in other countries. So there's also like a, what do you call it, a benefit of the globalization, because there's exposure and makes it easier for acceptance of products from other countries and things from other countries, because maybe you have seen that people consuming it, and you've always been interested. And so if you see it in your market, you're like, oh, okay. So the globalization has brought in kind of what do we call it? I don't want to say acceptance, because there's still other elements, but there's curiosity. Let me say, I think it has built a lot of curiosity about other markets and other things that are happening in other markets. And so I think I always say that's a plus of what's happening, because we are now more curious about other cultures, what other people are doing, products in other countries. And so it makes it easier for people to bring in new things for you to take those things into a new country, and to tell people about your culture and what those things. I remember when we were discussing last time about dawa, we could, that's something they come here and experience it, or they see people talking about dawa, something they can experience if you take it to that country. Hair products, tailors, clothes, bags, it's things that, and we are seeing a lot of, let's say, like farmers markets. Sometimes you see people come from Tanzania, and they're showcasing their products here, some from Uganda. I'm sure there are fairs like a Uganda fair where Kenyans go and showcase their products. In Tanzania, they go and showcase their products. So there is also, I think, that's another partnership, I think, that has just come to mind. There's like farmers markets, trade fairs. Those are also other spaces that you can get into to be able to expand into new markets, because those are strategic. There may be short-term contractual partnerships, but they're definitely still partnerships that you can use to expand into new markets. Yeah.
That's interesting. I think one of the other partnerships that I've seen when comes that beneficial and has improved curiosity is like the Egypt Expo. There's a lot of cultural exchange that happens in those spaces. It's quite interesting to see these things in real life. There's a lot of curiosity, but there's also a lot of of course, the cultures that are still conservative. And now, for anyone who gets into partnership, they need to have that in mind. That's a very enlightening point you brought out. And those examples, I don't think I would have thought of farmers market. I just see farmers market and I'm like, oh yeah, it's a farmers market. But when we actually think about it deeply, it's a very strategic partnership between different people, different cultures, even within the country. We get to see product from different parts of the country, because it's a very diverse country as well. Okay, that's interesting. So what advice would you give to someone who is looking to build their first strategic partnership?
I think advice first, be very clear what you want in that partnership. As first going, what do you need from this partnership? Why are you looking for a partner? Let's start there. When you're clear on that, then you now start saying, okay, so in this space, who is in, and don't be afraid to start small with just, as I said, something as simple as a farmer's market, or a trade fair, or even whatever activity maybe that happens in that country that you might it doesn't necessarily look like it's a big thing, but it's a good entry point. So always don't be afraid to also start small. When you're looking for partnerships, because it's you start small and and you build from that. Because also starting small when you're moving into a country, it enables you to craft what it really looks like, and to be able to, I guess, iterate as you go along, because it's not something that is what do you call 4 5 years. You can start, I think, also maybe starting small with a year contract or 6 months, to see if this is going to work, how you're working together, and you keep iterating until you find a perfect balance, is also something I would say. But you being very clear on why you need a partner and what the purpose of the partnership is, I think, has to be the most important thing, because without that, then you're walking blindly, and you will pick anyone and anything that comes your way. That's where you get excited with a partnership that comes on board that's promising things, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe this can work or this can't work. But then after some time, you find that you have burnt money, you have burnt time, and you haven't moved forward. So please, as businesses, we have to be very, especially as SMEs, we tend to not put things down on paper of what we want and what we are looking for, and formalize that, especially first of all for ourselves, be it be a plan, a business plan, or a strategy, or an expansion strategy. What does that look like? Do you have clarity on that? And then now, what partners would be able to support you on that journey? That should be your first plan as an SME, and then move forward to, okay, then who will be able to support this plan? And as I said, also, don't be afraid to start small with short-term contracts as you move into longer-term contracts, and see how that works. Yeah.
Interesting. Now we can shift the focus and now go to the leaders and the policymakers and now people who have been in the game for a very long time. What's a
Yeah.
mindset shift that is necessary in just a state mindset that is necessary for them to shift, or maybe look at it differently, especially in a world where there's a lot of things are changing every day.
Yeah. I think look at it from, like, look at partnership as a co-creation, not I'm in control or you're in control. I don't think a partnership there's anyone necessarily in control. You're both co-creating something. You're both looking at what does this partnership, how does this partnership help both of us grow? So you're both co-creating what you want to see in terms of the vision. You have agreed on, this is the path we're taking, this is what we're to do. And so I think that's something that ideally, I think in every aspect of business where you have a partner, or you're working with other people or anything, it's about co-creation. Because as I said, everyone is bringing something to the table. There's no one person that is not bringing anything to the table. And so I think when we all look at things that it looks like we are both in this together. And that helps you not feel superior or inferior to the other party. And so you're looking at it from, as I said, yeah, you're co-creating. And when you're co-creating, all inputs are important. Everyone's view and thoughts are important. And then you work together to create what you want. So I think, yeah, looking at it from a co-creation perspective, not I'm in charge, I'm in control, will really help you shift that into working together.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, just in general, we've spoken about the person taking the first step in
Yeah.
partnership, the ones who've been
Yeah.
in the game for a very long time. But what,
Mm.
just in general, what is something you wish people asked about strategic partnerships but don't, or something you wish they knew?
Oh, that change will come. change will happen. So it's important. Change will happen. And in this current life, or rather what's happening, there's so much changes that happens. In 6 months, 1 year, things could be completely, your business idea or the vision or your plan could be completely, uh, turned upside down, because we don't know. We literally, I think even now in terms of like strategic planning, and you can't, like, even saying like a 3-year strategic plan now is very dicey, because you don't even know what's going to happen. Sometime back, even a 5-year plan, you could kind of tell where the world was going, what would happen economically, politically, but things are changing so fast. So I think it's important. One of the key things when you're contracting and when you're having the conversation at the beginning is discussing how will you navigate changes that will happen, because I think that's where the partnership can crumble. If you don't discuss, okay, if changes happen, how do we navigate it? How will we work together? Will we need to bring someone extra on board to help us with transitions or changes? But yeah, don't assume that everything will be I think amazing or work together. So I think, yeah, changes and conflict, because definitely there'll be elements of where maybe you will disagree, or something will happen and maybe you'll be on different pages. So have an idea of how you manage conflict and how you manage change that happens within that partnership or within the environment that affect the partnership. So yeah, I think we often we tend to be, or maybe I tend to be a very positive person and hopeful person. So I tend to think, maybe it will work, and I'll not be angry with you, nah, or I will not fight with you, nah. But
Yeah,
life is not like that. Life is
that's
not like
true.
that. So planning
That
for
is
change,
very true.
planning for change and planning for conflict, I think is very important, because that's where things can really either go either side.
Yeah.
So let's not forget that those two things will definitely happen within a partnership. So planning for how you work on it is very important at the beginning. Yeah.
That is very interesting. And thank you so much, Barbara, for that, for this insightful conversation that we just had on strategic partnerships when it comes to market expansion. To our audience, I think you've gotten it straight from the horse's mouth. Alignment with purpose, alignment with values, and remember, change is inevitable. Whether it's in conflict, whether it's in the global landscape, be ready and plan for it. Remember, joining SME Founders Association is very, very easy. Just um, log in into our website and join us for only 5,000 shillings annually. We have different communities that you can be a part of, and yes, we are here, and we are glad to have you on board. Join us next week at the same time for Founders Conversation, still with Barbara Kingori, who's our marketing specialist. The topic of the month is on marketing essentials. Till next time, have a lovely day. See you.